welcome to the English Teacher Feature, the podcast on which we aim to pick apart drab-looking policy documents and highbrow academic papers and bring you some real, exciting and crucially, practical ideas for using in the classroom. My name is Sam Denno and I'm the secondary English lead at Twinkle. Now, I'm a strong believer in English as a continuous journey from EYFS up to the end of year 11. So it's important to me that secondary English teachers know exactly how the primary curriculum works and vice versa. And that's why I'm really excited that my co-host for this series is Nicola Romaine, the primary English lead at Twinkle. Moreover, consultant and lecturer. I mean, actually, Nicola, would it be easier to list the things that you don't do in relation to primary English than the things that you do do?
Thank you so much for the build-up, Sam.
Tell us something about what you do, what you've been doing.
So yeah, I've been in this kind of national role for the past, since about 2016, so that's 10 years, isn't it, coming up?
Wow.
So I have been really, really fortunate. So I was obviously a teacher, and then I was a local authority literacy advisor, and I just really got an appetite for professional development and supporting teachers and really sort of trying to plug those gaps. And here I am at Twinkle as National Primary English Lead. So I've been here now for 12 months.
Over the next few episodes, we're going to be browsing through the 2025 writing framework together. And well, I'll be using that as a springboard to interrogate Nicola's enormous experience for practical hints and tips. And I'll be sticking my oar in there too to make sure that everything that we discuss has relevance up and down the key stages. We're going to start at the beginning of the writing framework and we're going to go through it section at a time, I think. And we'll start with this section entitled Why Writing Matters. It is page 13. What did you think, Nicola? Just general thoughts of this passage as sort of the introduction, as sort of setting out the foundations of what this is all about.
So it sets the stall, doesn't it? That being able to express ideas clearly and fluently essentially opens doors. So I think that's the kind of stall that it sets, and it allows young people to take advantage of opportunities both in education and in the job market, and it actually says that, doesn't it? It talks about those kind of opportunities. And conversely, that students who struggle to express themselves in writing are likely to face challenges across that entire curriculum. So it's really important that we get this right in primary. There's a massive focus here on getting this right before they access that whole kind of plethora of subjects and different teachers and different ways of teaching and all those things. There's been an awful lot over the past number of years, decade. I talked about that decade where I've been working this way around reading, but not as much on writing. So I think it's really great that we have this. It's comparable to the reading framework. We've got that conceptual model as well.
So I was in a school the other day where we were talking about reading, secondary school, and they were saying we've got it down, we've got it fairly well plotted out. We've got a reading for pleasure program, we've got good reading habits being embedded in our pupils. All is going well, but the consequence of that for this particular school was that does mean that we've had to steer the focus away from, in this case, numeracy. So they said, now we need to do something that focuses on numeracy. And of course, you've got all of these conflicting things. And I think as an English teacher, I would say, well, for me personally, reading is number one. That is, we can talk about the benefits of reading for pleasure until the cows come home, can't we? Sort of the attainment, mental health, member of society. all the things, attainment across the curriculum, not just English. Now, this writing framework is setting its stall out to say, well, actually, hang on a sec, this is also of enormous importance. And it is. So now English is saying, well, we want reading to be front and centre, and we want writing to be front and centre. And we've got this school over here saying, well, hang on a sec, I've made reading front and centre. Now I'm worried about maths. What do you think is the most important here?
Are we bringing maths into the conversation, Sam?
No, but if we were to stake a claim for one specific key focus for a school, would we say it is reading or it is writing?
So I'm going to kind of pivot your question a little bit and talk about the kind of benefits. We know the benefits of reading. We've explored that for many years in depth. We've still got a way to go though. But I'm just going to kind of explore the benefits of competent writing. It allows a person to actively generate and articulate those complex ideas and arguments and proposals of, getting those thoughts and ideas down somewhere, really crucial for accessing opportunities. So I suppose, accessing opportunities in higher education, for example, intersecondary higher education. So in that way, if we just have reading and we take out writing, where does that leave us? We've got this kind of, the well-being and the learning about different worlds and different kind of issues and all of those things, and the pleasure and everything that comes from reading. And obviously that helps us, our thought processes and generating our own thoughts and ideas. If we haven't got anywhere to put those ideas, then what part do we play in the world in order to be able to express our own opinions? And I think that's kind of, so they're both, aren't they? So writing, I think it's right that the writing framework was published, because I think it is the poor relation. It has been the poor relation. And when we think about its function for being, part of society, it's really, really important. It forces a rigorous level of thought, to be able to write clearly, you've got to be able to think clearly, organising and sequencing and synthesizing information and all of those different things in a way that reading alone doesn't always demand. If we get children to be able to write fluently, then that allows them to articulate their own voice in today's world.
One thing that you've just touched on there is something that I pulled out of that, again, that sort of intro section of the document, which is the importance for how writing helps us to think. And actually in the act of writing something down, it's possible to embed that information into our long-term memories more effectively, which is a really interesting function that actually there are two things going on there, aren't there? That we use writing as a means of expression and self-expression, but it also acts as that tool for young people as well, which emphasizes, I suppose, what you're saying of the importance of it helps us to think.
Yeah, and I think the example that I would give there is, being a competent reader might allow you to understand a complex job advert, when they're older, when they need to do those things, when they leave school, about to leave school, or a legal contract or something. But being a competent writer allows you to be able to apply for that job, doesn't it? Or negotiate the terms and that kind of thing. So yeah, they work hand in hand, really.
One thing that the writing framework then does, again, in this introduction section, even at this point, it sort of raises the spectre of AI. Of course, AI is sort of prevalent in all of our conversations these days, but it talks about the risks of AI. So if we're using writing as a means to process, to embed things in our long-term memories, as soon as we say to some large language model, can you write this bit for me? Not only is that cheating, but in some respects, but it is also chopping off that function that we want our young people to observe of having sort of cognitive processes and thinking things through. How do we demonstrate that to learners? How do we say to learners, you are damaging your opportunities by using AI in this way, or you're damaging your thought process?
Research consistently shows us that that effortful process of generating, organizing, and articulating ideas, which you've just, alluded to, in writing is what drives that critical thinking and conceptual learning and that long-term memory formation. So when AI does that heavy lifting, we really risk cognitive offloading, I guess. So when the brain delegates that difficult mental work and really misses the opportunity for that deep learning. So I think you can absolutely set tasks to support pupils, learners, to model that risk, if you like. So by contrasting the results of two different processes. So I think the most kind of effective tasks for doing something like that involves kind of synthesis and reflection and kind of argument generation. So those kind of skills that require that deep engagement with the material itself, not just that sort of recitation. So I think an example to give would be, so if you think about a human pre-write, if you like, so the process around that and the goal would be that you would give the pupils, the learners, a complex reading on something, on a particular topic, something that would interest them, ask them to perform like a brain dump or a quick write for sort of 5-10 minutes, writing everything down that they know. We've all done that, haven't we? We've all done that in the classroom, all the key terms and the relationships that they can draw. And the goal there would be to activate and organize existing long-term memory. So the risk there is that it focuses on learning and the kind of neurological connection between that effortful recall and that memory embedding. And then the AI kind of offload, or the shortcut really version, would be that you would give pupils the same topic and ask them to immediately input that into the AI prompt tool, if you like, and copy and paste the results. So that obviously focuses on output over the process, and it demonstrates how the thinking, synthesizing, and structuring steps are entirely bypassed. So I think it's by kind of giving them short exercises like that, which show clearly what kind of cognitive skills are bypassed in that process of using AI, are the best way forward.
I like it. Let's do that. Let's do that in all of our classrooms. Because I think it is interesting, isn't it, that I don't think we're very good at letting our pupils know sort of the cognitive why.
I agree with you.
We're not very good at explaining that to people. Like, we're good at saying, okay, well, why are we doing a piece of writing like this? Because it will help you in your future career. We can explain those things away. But actually, it's that deeper thing. It's the using it as a tool to think. We don't explain that.
I actually like the example that I've just given. I'm like, oh my goodness, I just want to go and test that now. Because that's what teaching is all about, isn't it? It's by comparing and contrasting things in order to, and that is forcing them to have an opinion, isn't it? To think for themselves and to kind of really kind of understand that, as you say, at that sort of deeper level. So yeah, I'm all in for that sort of comparison kind of teaching.
So the last thing that I pulled out of this section is the relationship between creative acts and well-being. It's something worth emphasising, certainly in a secondary space where pupils are very mental health aware. So, for example, to suggest that 30 minutes of free writing a week is likely to be good for them, that could be a win for a secondary teacher. And in fact, that's a task. If your pupils get to the end of an activity, and you think, well, I could set you an extension task, or I could just set you off. Just write at will. That's quite a nice activity for them. Again, if we explain it, so if we say to pupils, this is supportive of your mental well-being, it's worth doing this for your own benefits. Is well-being something that primary pupils are as conscious of, and is it as important in your view?
It's definitely important. So I think when we think about well-being awareness at primary, I think it's around the kind of vocabulary used maybe. So whilst primary pupils generally aren't using the same sort of clinical vocabulary, if you like, as secondary pupils might be, things like cognitive offloading or like anxiety management, those sorts of things. They're absolutely conscious of their feelings and emotional states. And I think that, pupils today are more than any sort of generation before aware of their own kind of emotional states. Writing provides a really safe, low stakes outlet for processing those kind of big feelings. So
yeah,
definitely same but different. I think really important to tap into those things for writing.
This has been a fabulous chat, Nicola. If you're up for it, let's come back and do this again sometime soon.
Yeah, I feel as though we've only just got started, only just touching the sides. It's good to talk about.
We appreciate likes and 5-star ratings if you found this engaging. So please give us those in abundance. Or you can get in touch with us on twinklepod@twinkle.co.uk. We love to hear from people. And I think that's about it.
Thanks so much, Sam.
Thank you for listening.